Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the No Laying Up podcast, August edition of the Ryder Cup Roundtable. So you know my guy TC is here. Hello, Mr. TC.
Hey, Soly, I'm chomping at the bit. I've been deep in the research mines all morning.
It's been good. It's been 3 months since we've done this, and we got to kind of touch on it on the weekly pod, but we haven't had a chance to just dump it all, debrief it all. We made him put a full shirt on because he's calling in from holiday, as they would call it, across the pond. Mr. Jamie Weir. Hello, Jamie.
Good afternoon from sunny Cornwall to you all. Yeah, just reveling in the afterglow of yet another European victory in the European Tour last night from one of our old stalwarts. All's looking rosy for Luke Donald's team.
PGA Tour.
A couple of months out.
Yeah. PGA Tour, not European Tour, which also doesn't exist
Did
anymore.
I just say that?
You said European Tour.
My head's all over the shop. I'll switch my brain on in a second.
Okay. I would say, yeah, congrats on that. That was the first European win since 12 Americans had last won, actually, since the last European one on the PGA Tour. So that was good to kind of balance the scales a little bit ahead of today. Mr. Kyle Porter's here, of course, helping me wave the American flag.
Yeah, and of course, condolences to TC for another Fleetwood L evergreen statement at this point. We can probably replay that over the next couple weeks as well. But we're doing Europe first, Soly, and I think that these guys think it's because they're more solidified, and our problem is we just have too many good options, and we'll get to that second, and probably take more time to delve into all the depth of the US side.
This Ryder Cup update is, of course, brought to you by our friends at BMW. They are not only the official vehicle of No Laying Up, but also a worldwide partner of the 2025 Ryder Cup. We are greatly looking forward to spending some time with them on site at Bethpage later this year to experience the ultimate team competition. TC is going up to the BMW Championship as well this week. So we're recording this early on a Monday morning. We are fresh off the Justin Rose triumph over Ryder Cup stalwart JJ Spaun, which has emerged now. I'll start with you, Jamie. How are you feeling about your team at this point? I know the answer to this. You have a perma smirk on your face whenever we do these podcasts. So how are you feeling?
Smirk seems a bit unfair. I'm incredibly confident, and that's not being bullish. I just think that it's a very settled team. We'll get into what I think the team's going to be, but I don't think there's much change from Rome a couple of years ago. Everybody knows their roles. There's ready-made, tested, proven pairings in there. We've got a captain who's been at the helm for 3.5 years, a backroom team who know the players really well. There's a real bond between everybody. Crucially, we know that our captain isn't going to be playing on the team and is going to be 100% focused on captaining the team. And I just think it's the best set-up team for Europe to win on US soil since 2004. I think it's looking really good. And there's still a lot can change between now and September, but I'm sure Luke couldn't be happy with how things are going at the moment.
TC, I'm assuming you feel similarly.
I do. Yeah, I was almost a little bit surprised when I was going through it this morning and going deep, and I'm like, man, like you really have to go that far off the top 12 or 13 or 14 to really figure out who's on there. It should be a pretty similar team. We've got Jamie down on holiday in Cornwall doing some character, some background checks on Harry Hall, just as a fail safe. But no, I think it's, it seems like continuity is definitely the theme. And I would assume that we've got the Danish Golf Open this week, National Open over there. A lot of those guys that are probably on the bubble outside looking in are playing in that. You've got some guys, like Rye didn't make it to BMW, which was unfortunate. And then you've got, and then I'm fascinated to see kind of, if things were to percolate beyond that, you've got British Masters the week after that. And then I think they make the 6 captains picks at that point. So
British Masters a BDE or no?
TBD. I don't even know where it is this year. Yeah,
it's at the Belfry. It's at the Belfry.
Jamie,
I mean,
not the greatest.
The great man Seve, did some great things at the Belfry, though.
Jamie, when you say it's the most, I think you said like the European team that's the best set up to win the Ryder Cup in America since 2004. Is that because of the European side or because of how you view the American side?
It's your classic bit of both answer. I just think that because of how the continuity that Tron alludes to. I just think that's one big reason, and I just think there are still so many question marks over the US side. So I think it's a little bit of both is the most boring answer, I'm afraid.
Porter, listen, I've printed off the list of the strokes gained right here, and it says we got the advantage. So I think we got this locked up, right?
Yeah,
I think there's nothing left to figure out at this point. Match play is the same as stroke play, and I'm feeling quite confident. But I can't remember if I've had this approach in prior Ryder Cups and had this come back to bite me, but I'm just feeling great about the U.S. team right now when I look at the numbers.
I've got a lot of things I need to get off my chest today. The first is, people can lose me with like trying to debate strokes gained on Twitter. Like, I'm good. Like, you can go read about it. Like, I'm not going to go back and forth with like how all that works. I do think, Soly, there's such a difference. And I think that you've been big on this, and I know a lot of people have talked about it over the years, but there's such a difference between a home Ryder Cup and an away Ryder Cup for the US. I mean, it's just so stark. And since 2008, the US has been awesome at home. Like, awesome, really good. 2012 was such a freak anomaly, like whatever. I think the way that we discuss those should just be very different. And even the way they put the team together should be different. So I think that's one starting point for me, is just the way that we talk about and discuss and put teams together, home and away, should just vary greatly, I think, for the US.
Just looking at it briefly, they like day one, 2008, they were up big. Europe technically won day 2 in 2008, but day 3, the US won big time. Day 1 and day 2 at Medina, the US obviously dominated that. Europe flipped that with one of the most dominant Sundays ever that I think truly has trickled down to the way we talk about this event to this day. Like, I think if the US just closes the deal on that one, which they did not, I think the whole Ryder Cup gets framed really differently. 2016, the US went up 5-3 day 1. They took a 9.5, 6.5 lead in the Sunday singles, and they also won Sunday singles. And then I don't need to remind you what happened at Whistling Straits. They won by the largest margin in the history of the modern Ryder Cup. Obviously won all 3 days of that one. So to your point, there's a lot to support that. Now, does that mean it's going to happen forever? I don't feel that. The odds say this is a very close call. The math said this is a close call. If I look at a bunch of stuff, I can get myself really hyped up on like, hey, like the middle tier, like US has a massive advantage, but some of those names of the guys that haven't played great golf are like Justin Rose and Shane Lowry. I know Justin Rose just won, but like the numbers do not like him right now. And I think it's very safe to say throw the numbers out when those guys in particular get to a Ryder Cup. Like, I've just seen it too many times with a Stenson or a Rose or a Garcia or a Poulter or any of these guys, just to say, like, if they're not in the best form, that they can't show up and play great golf at a Ryder Cup. I think Luke Donald's leadership is a major X factor in all of this. I think he can and has shown an ability to get a ton out of the players on his team, set them up for success. Eduardo Molinari, like I remember listening, he came on the pod and after they won, took a massive victory lap, if I may say, and it spelled out the formula. And it's like, yeah, it makes perfect sense. Like, I totally see how this team can overachieve.
Arrogant or
no. No, I didn't think. I'm
okay.
joking, but he was just like laid out. Like, some of that stuff I would have kept a little closer to the chest of exactly how they do things, but he wasn't arrogant. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying,
Soly, when you say that Team Rose, the numbers don't like
Yeah,
him,
I was curious on that as
what do
well.
you
When
mean
you've
by
just
that?
finished 6th at the Scottish Open, 16th at the Open, and just won in the FedEx Cup playoffs. What do the numbers not like about those last 3 finishes?
He just won. He's been the 20th best European over the last 3 months. He's the 28th best predicted skill per data golf. I mean, that's a massively small sample size. I'd have to rerun that, but it has not been trending great for Justin Rose.
Small sample size.
It is, but my point still stands. The numbers don't like him to this point. Like, they absolutely do not. He had a great spring, obviously at the Masters, but he had the middle of the year was not very kind to Justin Rose. Obviously, he just won. Does that mean you could throw everything out? Probably, maybe. I don't know that, but I think he was a question mark coming into the fall, kind of coming into this late period prior to yesterday.
I think one of the things, speaking of Rose and like the small sample size, one of the things that makes all of this so interesting to talk about and debate, and I think it's the most interesting like event like this to talk about, because it doesn't really happen elsewhere. Like, you baseball, it doesn't happen. Basketball, you've got the Olympic team, but that's kind of like, whatever, we're going to win all the games anyway. Like, this is such a unique thing. And I think that everybody has a different kind of determinant for what they think should be looked at to put a player on the team, right? Some people say like, oh, well, it should be strokes gained over 3 months. It should be strokes gained over 6 months. It should be how many times did you get into contention in the 5 months leading? Like, there's just so many different ways to look at it, which I think makes for, it's why it's my favorite thing to talk about, because there's no real right answer, I don't think, when it comes to some of those things. But I'm just curious about what you guys are maybe, Jamie, starting with you, what you're looking at when you kind of look at filling out the bottom of the roster. Is it how guys have played over the month leading in? Is it 6 months? Is it 3 months? Like, what's your factor there?
Well, I think the one thing you also didn't mention is just, I know you Soly in particular probably sort of laugh at this, but it's just gut instinct as well. You know, how the guys think that they're going to perform under the pressure of being in an atmosphere which is going to be like unlike anything a lot of them have experienced before, because Bethpage is going to be different gravy to what they've experienced in the past. It is not going to be like Rome. It is not even going to be like Whistling Straits was. It's going to be something completely unique. How can they handle it under that most intensive pressures? I think you look at that. You look at how they've been playing as well, of course. Dodo, as Soly and Tron have alluded to, will have the numbers in front of them, the data that suggest who's going to perform best on that golf course as well, who pairs best with whom. So there are a lot of things that go into the melting pot. But if we wanted me to get into what I think the team will be now, do you want me to do that now, Soly, or do you want to talk around it a bit more?
Sure,
My
I'm just
hunch
going to
is
do a little bit of framing. Yeah,
okay. Go for
I
it.
was going to set up some numbers and standings and kind of
Yeah.
we've mentioned that there, but I think it gets pretty easy for Europe until you get to the very final spot, which you guys can correct me on that.
But Kyle, to your question, for me, I think it's like you can slice and dice the numbers however you want. Because yeah, if you look at the 6 months, Rose had a crappy stretch there, really from kind of the backside of Masters. I think he kind of flew pretty close to the sun there and probably had to recover there. But
He had some health stuff. Like, did he have a neck
was
injury or
hurt.
something?
Yeah, I think he was hurt at Truist. WD'd there and then didn't play well at the PGA the next week. Didn't play great at Memorial. Played fine at Canada and then obviously missed a cut at US Open. But like
he missed the cut at Canada too.
There is when it comes
but
to
like
Justin
68,
Rose,
71 on a
I think,
like
up until as recently as 2 or 3 weeks ago, I think Justin Rose still was a bit of a question mark, which is why Luke hasn't named his final assistant captain up to this point. I think he was just trying to see what Justin Rose would do over the summer. Now, he's had a great summer, did well at Scotland at the Open, and obviously has now just won as well, which has cemented his place in the team. He's now qualified for the team, doesn't need a pick anymore.
Right.
But I think that's why he was giving himself a bit of time, because had Justin carried on in a similar vein that he did in sort of May, June time, then he would have been an assistant captain. He's going to be in the team. I know for a fact that a lot of the senior players in the team wanted him on the team as a player. So that now answers one of the big questions that Luke would have had. But I think, no matter what you think of Justin Rose, and people will have their opinions, some people might think there's something a bit insincere about him that's hard to root for. You cannot question the guy when the pressure is at its most intense. He just performs. He is absolutely sensational. Those final 6 holes yesterday and then in the playoff, he barely missed a single shot. Got lucky with one of his drives, but just, he just performs when the pressure is at its most intense. And that's what you want in your team.
And seems to be getting better and better under pressure. Like he's taking that experience.
Yeah, 100%.
And honing it and fine tuning it. And like, it feels like every shot that he hit, like there wasn't a wasted motion. The routine is on point. Like he just wants to be in the cauldron and even, it just, like it's, like he played well, even first half of the year. Like he played well at Pebble or at, Arnold Palmer and, or winning 2.5 years ago to almost salvage his career. Like, winning at Pebble, it was, like his back was up against the wall and he was
his entire career has been proving people wrong, I think, and just getting the very most out of his God-given talent. He works his absolute socks off and went out before Memphis and had like a sort of 2-week training camp in the States just to get himself ready for the FedEx Cup playoffs. Like the guy just continues to grind away and eke out every possible bit of advantage he has just to get his game better and better and better. I've got nothing but praise for him, and he's going to be a huge part of that team.
All right, we can't fluff all 12 guys like this.
Hold on. No. He's proven me wrong though, like time and again. And I think he deserves a lot of credit in that, like he would have been candidate number 1 to go to live.
Yeah.
At that point in his career and take a big bag of money to go to live and he didn't, right? It, like I think the intangible stuff and the Ryder Cup, it means something to him, and he's going to show up and build his whole fall around.
You know what I can say about Rose is, like, do I think he'll be the best player for Team Europe in the Ryder Cup? No, I do not. Do I think he will give the exact amount of effort and skill and get the ball in the hole to win a match 1 up on the 18th green to put a point on the board for Team Europe in a crucial spot? Absolutely feel like he will. Yeah. Like, absolutely.
And,
he's not going to be.
Do you not think that his sheer presence in the team room, I think, gives an advantage to the other 11 guys as well? To have somebody that experienced, a major champion, a guy who continues to perform when the pressure is at its most intense.
I saw it with McIntyre in Rome. I mean, I'll push back on you believing that I might scoff at what you're saying about how do you handle the cauldron. That's everything to me. That's all I'm going to say. Like, pick your 12 guys you think are going to perform the best in this very different environment.
Yeah.
You know, the stroke. I've said this a million times. Like, the strokes game frames the conversation where I think people can get lost on a lot of this stuff. Is like Andrew Novak playing way better than Spieth, right? He got to put him on the team. Spieth's out. It's like, well, let's look at, like, at least look at that. He's not beating him on the golf course nearly as much as you might think. So that's kind of the framing device for all of that, to say, I don't know. I guess I've been through it enough times to know, like, I'm obsessed over the numbers. U.S. has a small advantage on paper as of right now. I know as soon as you go to put a tee in the ground for that opening session that goes out. Like, it just doesn't matter. There's just enough variance in all. You want to do all the things you can to put the odds in your favor. I still strongly believe in that, but it is very, very, very far from guaranteeing what is going to happen once it starts. So, and
Soly, just, some of the Novak stuff's just to wind you up, but like, you can look at the way that his finishes have gone too, of like, even his good finishes, he hasn't played great in the final round.
Yeah.
Right. And does that suggest that he's going to be comfortable in a, like, he may want the ball, but with adrenaline and all of that, even if you want to play under pressure, there's physiological reactions. Right?
And that's a different question, like doing that for Team USA or for Team Europe, where I feel incredibly confident at Team Europe's ability to harvest an environment where somebody can stand up and feel 10 feet tall in that scenario versus shit themselves. And I don't feel as confident on the US side that they're kind of harvesting that environment. And so maybe that matters on home soil, maybe it doesn't, but we'll see. Anyways, framing the point standings when it comes to Team Europe. Top 6 are Rory, Rose, Fleetwood, McIntyre, Hatton, and Straka. I think regardless of how it plays out over the next several weeks, I think those 6 are clearly going to be on the team. The next 6 in the standings are Lowry, Rasmus Højgaard, Ludwig, Victor Hovland, Mike Wallace, and Matt Fitzpatrick. And then the next several from there on are Thomas Dietrich, Aaron Ride, Jordan Smith, Nicholas Norgard, John Perry, Torbjorn Olesen, Harry Hall, Marco Pinge, Rasmus Niergaard Peterson, and John Rahm, who you can obviously slate on the team as well. So I think it's easy to say Rory, Rose, Fleetwood, McIntyre, Hatton, Straka. That's 6. Lowry makes 7. Ludwig makes 8. Hovland makes 9. Fitz makes 10. Rahm makes 11. I think there's almost nothing that can happen in the next month besides injury that would change any of that. Do the European fellows nod and agree with that?
10 are locked for me. I think Fitz is all but a lock. He's playing really well. But I do think he sat out. Like, he only played 2 sessions in Rome. His Ryder Cup record prior to Rome wasn't great. He played 3 sessions. Okay. And
yeah,
he didn't play great either.
Both
right?
afternoon sessions with Rory.
Okay.
Balls. Yeah. And then obviously the Saturday afternoon session was when it all got a bit
and then
frosty.
lost singles to Max as well, and doesn't have a great Ryder Cup record. I think he's turned it on. He's playing really good golf. He's on my team, but it's one of those things of I don't think he's a lock quite yet. Like, he would be close to, like, he's on the team today, and if he plays reasonably well the next couple of weeks, I think he's on. But and then 12 is like, that's where you've got Rasmus kind of falling out the bottom of the funnel a little bit here. Both the Højgaard twins falling out the bottom of the funnel. Between Dietrich, Wallace, Rye, Norgard hasn't played at all well enough or just enough. Same with Rasmus Niergaard Peterson. I don't have Dietrich on.
Can I give you just a little bit of rankings? Again, as we're trying to figure out the last spot, just who has played the best golf over the last 6 and 3 months. So over the last 6 months, here's how Team Europe goes. Rory, Rahm, Fleetwood, Straka, Ludwig, Hovland, Fitz, Rye, Hall, Rasmus Niergaard Peterson, Robert McIntyre, Alex Noren, Shane Lowry, Tyrrell Hatton, Justin Rose, Nikolai Højgaard. That's the top 16 guys over the last 6 months. Over the last 3 months, it goes Tommy, Rahm, Fitz, Rory. Harry Hall's been the 5th best European over the last 3 months. Sepp Straka, Nikolai Højgaard, Robert McIntyre, Victor Hovland, Aaron Rye, Ludwig, Matt Wallace, Christopher Reitan, Tyrrell Hatton, Noren, Paul Casey, Marco Pinge, Victor Perez, Jordan Smith, Justin Rose, Shane Lowry. Rose and Lowry are 20 and 21 over the last 3 months.
Is Noren an option? Is Noren on the table at all?
No, I don't think so. I mean, he had the two good finishes there, but otherwise it was pretty, pretty bleak. I think the one, like you mentioned, Rasmus Niergaard Peterson over the last 6 months, he's only played twice since the U.S. Open.
Worldwide.
And so there's I just like to see more starts there, right? I think Harry Hall, I think the floor is really high. He's a really consistent player. Obviously the putter's awesome. He's not great off the tee, which I'm not sure is a great formula there. I really like Reitan. I think he's a really good driver of the golf ball. He's the one that for me that I'm like, man, you put him in, is he the 12th guy? And you bring something in. So I don't know, Jamie, give me yours.
Yeah,
because I feel like we're aligned on the first 11.
Yeah, my gut instinct is that the team will be the same 12 surnames as Rome. I think Rasmus might be in instead of Nikolai, but I could see the argument for Nikolai just being exactly the same 12 guys, to be completely honest. I think Nikolai has been playing better than some of his stats have suggested in recent months. Harry Hall is head and shoulders statistically better than a lot of the other options, but that is obviously individual stroke play. That's heavily weighted. You said his putting is excellent. Matt Wallace is somebody who could probably play himself onto the team with some good performances this side of the pond in the next few weeks. We all know how much it means to Matt, and how much he would relish the sort of environment of being in a Ryder Cup. I think Thomas Dietrich, after that really promising start and winning in Phoenix, obviously hasn't really kicked on the way Luke and Dodo might have hoped. And then the real sort of dark horse I would throw into the mix because of the way he drives the ball and decent putting is David Puig, but I just think he's kind of not really in the conversation at the moment. So if it's being picked tomorrow, I think Rasmus just about gets the nod for that 12th spot. But I completely agree that I think 11 are locked in. 11 that were there in Rome are all locked in for this one already. And it just comes down to who the 12th man is. And realistically, the 12th man is obviously only going to play 3 sessions. So,
you can do kind of what you don't need a veteran presence. You can, it's a wild card. Exactly. You don't need a veteran presence.
It literally is a wild card. Yep. You've got the veteran presence. There's so many, in Rory and John Rahm and Justin Rose. You've got people on that team who have got the experience and have been there, seen it, done it, got the t-shirt. You do literally get like a kind of roll of the dice. Somebody who just, the numbers suggest, they are big fans of Rasmus Niergaard Peterson. I know that for a fact, that they really like him. Yeah. I think they probably would have liked him to have kicked on a bit more after a decent showing at Oakmont, and he hasn't massively done that. There's nobody knocking down the door to be that 12th man at the moment.
Well, let's say this week somebody plays really well.
Right, exactly. And I do genuinely think there is a very good chance it could be the exact same 12 guys, because Nikolai has got the experience of Rome. We know he drives at an absolute mile, has a game that is made for Bethpage, know that he pairs well with John, gets on very well with John. So I could be exactly the same 12 guys. My hunch at the moment is it'll be 11 and Rasmus.
And it could come down to a shakeout of all right, here's how we're going to do the pairings. Who pairs the best in 4-ball with blank, whoever that might be, right? Yeah. And it's matching up what kind of birdies Aaron Rye makes versus Harry Hall or any of that. If you look at it so Rye does get a pretty sizable course adjustment hit If you look at him directly, I mean, he's played some good golf, but he gets again, you can roll your eyes at this, but he gets 3/4 of a shot or 3/10 of a shot course adjustment hit, which is a lot. That may not sound like a lot, but like that's more of a hit than Bryson gets in a positive with Bethpage being a bomber's paradise. So I think that frames it. Harry Hall's quite neutral and has played really, really solid golf. If they wanted to go chalk, like that would make sense, I think, in terms of looking just down the down the leaderboard. I think if I'm also Luke Donald and especially Eduardo Molinari probably looking at this, if you have a Rose, who's kind of played his way into a spot, who's not a long hitter, the more not long hitters you put on the bottom of your team, the more likely US is to exacerbate that advantage with the course setup. So is that where a Højgaard makes sense in that spot to neutralize that a little bit?
Yeah. Do you want to balance?
I think your 12th man is somebody who only plays the 4 balls in the singles and just makes a ton of birdies. So in that case, that case, either the twins fit into that model quite well. They just hit it a mile. They'll make you a load of birdies. They might have the odd double bogey as well, but that doesn't matter if you've got Justin Rose alongside you, holding your hand and making sure that you're in every hole. So I think that's why you just want your 12th man to be somebody who will make an absolute boatload of birdies and give you a chance of winning a 4 balls match.
I got your answer then. 30 or better percentage on the PGA Tour. Number 1, Scotty Scheffler. Number 2, Harry Hall. Number 2 on the PGA Tour and 30 or better percentage.
How about that? I think, at this point, the way Rose is playing, he might be your birdie guy too. He made 26 birdies last week on a course with only 2 par 5s. So, I don't know. I think it's like, I am really curious to see what happens in, at BMW and over in Denmark this week. I think it's interesting.
Rasmus
I'll be completely honest. Harry Hall was somebody I hadn't really even sort of heard mentioned in dispatches until I had a little look at the Data Golf rankings and saw just how well he performed. He's kind of done it quite sort of on the down low. He hasn't there's nobody sort of saying, "Oh, how about that Harry Hall? We've seen how well he's playing at the moment." He's just been very sort of steadily going about his business, and lo and behold, he's in the top 50s. He's playing BMW this weekend. He's going to be in all the signature events next year. And I don't really he's done it kind of without really sort of making a lot of a big song and dance about it.
What are the people saying over in Cornwall? Are they just the buzz?
It's Harry Hall fever over here. It's all anybody can talk about.
I mean,
I'm not sure anybody in Cornwall's aware there's even a Ryder Cup happening in September, if I'm being completely honest.
The confidence in Rasmus is interesting because he doesn't have a top 10 since DP World Tour Championship last year. Like, he just is, and I think he's a good player, but the performance just hasn't been there. And so I'm curious about why him over even Nikolai or the other.
I just
Rasmus
think, that's a very fair question. And I think, the points that he's accumulated up to this point, Rasmus, definitely sort of skew how well he's actually played. You could, on one hand, you could say it's difficult to look past, where is he in the moment? Soly, 8th in the rankings? No, 9th in the rankings.
He is 8th in the rankings. Yes.
Yeah. So you could say, it's quite difficult to look past number 8, but he got a lot of points by winning the Irish Open last year, and that's going to be over a year before the Ryder Cup. So he's definitely in a bit of a unfair position at the moment. Like, he's not the 8th best performing European golfer. Let's put it that way. But I just think he has a bit of credit in the bank, having been in Rome, albeit as part of the backroom staff. He's got a big cheerleader in his corner, in one of the assistant captains, in Thomas Bjorn. As I said, he's just kind of a face fits kind of situation for me. Like, he's part of that European team family, wider family. Whereas Harry Hall for me would be a little bit of an outsider. Harry Hall is not somebody I've heard mentioned a lot by the likes of Dodo and Luke.
You know what that sounds like, Soly?
What's that?
Yeah.
Sounds like a boys' club.
I think for Rasmus, there's something to be said for he made the cut in all 4 majors this year and played quite well at the Open.
I'm curious your guys' take on this, because I think how we've been wired to think about the Ryder Cup in the past is it is set up differently now than it has been, with seasons ending earlier and not, I mean, and not rolling directly from like 2018, like the Tour Championship was literally the week before the Ryder Cup. And it was like hot hands. And I hear a lot of, I mean, TCU referenced it too. I'm curious to see what's going to happen over these next couple of weeks. Team Europe's going to be set on September 1st. I think I have it right.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
then Team USA is going to be set a week before that, over a month before the next golf shot is hit. I'm of the opinion that I think it is a different projection you're making at that point. I think hot hands plays less of a role.
Hazeltine in 2016, like they literally had a pick for Ryder 5 days before the Ryder Cup began, you know?
Soly, I don't think it's hot hand. I think it's more like, hey, like
decisive.
Throw some more stuff on your resume, right? Or like close the door. Like this is the tiebreaker, right? Or this is, all things being equal. Hey, I'm trending in the right direction here. Or, hey, I've been working on these shots. Let me show you.
I think from a European point of view as well, the other thing is that I think Luke and Dodo, they did this 2 years ago ahead of Rome as well. They like to have the team settled, make sure all 12 guys are there at Wentworth, which they will be this year. Try out a few little. They've got a lot of ready-made pairings already. We know that Ludwig's going to partner Victor. We know that Tommy's going to pair with Rory in foursomes, and Rory's going to pair with Fitz in four balls. We know that John and Tyrrell are going to play together, etc., etc. But just to try out a few little odds and sods at Wentworth, they like to have the team locked in and have, right, listen, we've got a full 4 weeks before the balls go up in the air. Let's make sure that all our I's are dotted, all our T's are crossed. And I think the US team have probably learnt from the way Europe did it last time around that coming in to a Ryder Cup completely having like just rusty, having played zero competitive golf at all, is maybe not the wisest way of doing things either. So I think Keegan is trying to lock this team in and make sure they are a little bit more battle hardened going into Bethpage than they were going into Rome.
Is there anybody way off the board like Ludwig was last year that they would consider like almost as somebody to prep for 2027?
That would be the Nørgaard Peterson or someone like that.
Peterson or Nicholas Nørgaard or David Puig. But I think they've got too much ground to make up. And David Puig, obviously, having not played PGA Tour golf and had the experience of US crowds, I think is just too much of a dark horse. But his game sets up perfectly for the golf course.
Yeah, and somebody like McKibben or Chikara or someone like that is too. Yeah, they're just too. It's too volatile, I think. I mean, Jamie, is there any chance that like they set up? Like, I wouldn't put it past Dodo and Francesco and Bjorn to like get the DP World Tour to set up the courses the next 2 weeks to account for like, hey, we're like similar stuff to what we're going to see at Bethpage. You could probably do that at the Belfry with
you could
fairway widths and there's just kind of that flat.
Yeah, I don't know much about the course I don't know much about the course in Denmark, but you're right, the Belfry's kind of quite sort of featureless, and you could just grow the rough up a bit, and they could do that. But I think the team is pretty much set, all bar one spot. So making sure having an entire course set up just to find one guy, I think is kind of a bit pointless, really.
All I'm saying is that I wouldn't put it past them.
Team Europe.
No, true.
Anybody would do it.
And there's a very good chance that one guy comes from, stateside anyway, if it's Harry Hall or somebody like that. So we'll see how it plays out. But there's a very good chance they might have, the K Club and Wentworth set up to be a bit of a sort of Bethpage like test, just to make sure they're ready for that when they get over.
One other guy that we didn't mention that, I don't think he's in the convo, but I think could have played himself into the convo would have been Matty Schmid as well. Damn near won at Colonial this year, and he stacked up a few other good finishes, but just hasn't done enough to kind of.
Not quite.
All right, I think that's probably the moment right there, Porter. Right
there, you go, Soly.
Yeah, I think we've
done our half hour in Europe.
Yeah. We didn't get past Rose on all the fluffing. I think we did it. We did it. It's officially peak polo season. Nobody does that better than Rhoback. Best fit, best feel, hands down. You've heard us say it many times, but it holds up, especially in the heat. Whether you're into bold prints, clean stripes, or go-to solids, Rhoback's summer lineup is dialed. It's lightweight, it's breathable. The collar, it holds its shape like no other, no matter how hot or humid it gets. It's incredible. It's great for the golf course, great for off the golf course, as well as their shorts. Their shorts game is sneaky strong. The Delta Looper shorts have a stretch waistband that's built to move, but still keeps your polo tucked. Or you can go with the everyday shorts. I wear these around the house all the time. They're more relaxed, got an elastic waistband, made to be worn untucked, but they still look sharp. If your summer fit needs a refresh, now's the time. Go to Rhoback.com. That's RHOBACK.com. Use code NLU for 20% off your first order through the end of this week. Polos, hoodies, shorts, whatever you need, Rhoback's got you covered. Code NLU for 20% off at Rhoback.com. All right, Porter, the top 6 on the United States of America side. Scotty Scheffler, this is point standings. Scotty Scheffler, JJ Spaun, who is locked in and qualified, Xander, Russell Henley, Bryson DeChambeau, Harris English. The next 6 are JT Morikawa, Ben Griffin, Keegan Bradley, Mav McNeely, Andrew Novak. The next 13 through 20, Brian Harmon, Cameron Young, Patrick Cantlay, Sam Burns, Wyndham Clark, Lucas Glover, Daniel Berger, Akshay Bhatia, Chris Gotterup. Let's start with the $1 trillion question, the one we've been talking about since maybe for over a year now. How do you see the Keegan situation currently playing out, Porter?
Well, I think it was Shane Ryan had a good piece on how this is like the worst
possible
case scenario of him being like 10th or 11th.
Since he won the Travelers, just for the record, he was T41 at the Rocket Classic, T30 at the Open, missed the cut at the Wyndham, T44 at St. Jude, which he would have missed the cut if there was a cut in that one.
Soly, it's the Rocket, just to be clear.
I said that, right? I said
you said the Rocket Classic.
That's what it's called, the Rocket Classic.
I thought it was just the Rocket.
No, it's the Rocket Classic.
It's going to be the Rocket in a couple of years.
Then the Rock.
They just keep taking names off. I mean, first of all, so the 12 you mentioned that are the top 12 right now, I think the first 9 up to Ben Griffin are and should be locked in. I don't think there's anything that should change that. JT Morikawa and Griffin are your 7, 8, 9, and I think that's great.
The question would be, if Harris English drops out of the top 6, does he still get a selection? I think looks likely at this point. Yeah.
That was my one asterisk in that top 6 was like, but I think he's also like playing pretty well right now too. Jamie, you were smirking when Porter said that top 9 locks. Do you?
No, not smirking. No, I just the sort of the Ben Griffin sort of rise from nowhere has been extraordinary. I never thought I would hear the sentence saying, right, Ben Griffin is an absolute lock for the Ryder Cup team, but
it's been the second best American over the last 3 months.
I'm not scoffing at it at all. I mean, he's been excellent across everything, and yeah, he is in the team. I agree.
I just want to see Ben Griffin and Fitz lock heads during singles. Two of them, I feel like they're just
do a math
years of one another. Yeah.
So I think
it's extraordinary just how different this team is from the Rome team. I mean, it really is just it's night and day comparing the European team from Rome to the American team and this time around.
And there's been a lot of turnover in American teams from cup to cup over the last decade or so. I mean, it would surprise you. Kind of, I think the most they've retained is 8 guys from one team to the next over the last decade or so. I'm pulling that out of my ass. I'd have to double check that. But yeah, I mean, obviously no Ricky, no Brooke. I guess maybe not obviously. Got a couple of Ricky questions in there, but no Brooks, no Harmon, no Wyndham Clark. Like there's 4 open spots right off the top for Team US from Rome.
I can't do Ricky.
No, we're moving on from that.
But the place that I've landed, Soly, is like and this is sort of what I think Jamie's sort of alluding to is like the names on the European side are, if you just look at this on paper, and I've had people contact me and say like, I didn't realize how good the numbers were on the US side. And I think that's totally fair. If you look on paper, the names on the Euro side are way better. And you just look at it and you're like, we're going to get killed. Mm-hmm. But then you look at the numbers and you're like, JJ Spawn's been a lot better than Shane Lowry this year. Ben Griffin's been a lot better than Ludwig Oberg this year. You have to look at like what has actually happened this year. Now, does that mean anything in September in Bethpage? Maybe not. But I just don't think there's any reason to go into it thinking like Europe is going to absolutely roll over the US. Not that these two do, but I think a lot of just casual fans look at the names and think like, oh, this isn't even going to be close. And I just don't think that's the case. And all that being said, I think the US has enough guys that are playing as well or better than Keegan or just behind him that he shouldn't take himself. And I know we've had this discussion of like, there's a difference between what he will do and what he should do. If he keeps trending the way he is, then I don't think he will take himself. I think you'll fill it in with Cam Young or I don't know, somebody like that on kind of that back end there. But also he won the BMW last year.
Yeah,
So
he's totally going to win this week. Like the more I'm thinking about it, like that's the only way this is going to end is an emphatic like, oh yeah, now I have to pick myself.
It sucks for him though. Like
yeah.
it would be so, as the captain, you would want to, like, it would be so fun to play, right?
Yeah.
Like it sucks.
Plus, in his head, when is he going to get another chance to play in a Ryder Cup? You got to
exactly. Like it's more. I think it'd be more fun to play than to captain, and he's in this really crappy position that I feel for him of like,
yeah, I do too.
He probably shouldn't take himself, but he also probably really wants to as a competitor. I would want to, and that's unfortunate for him.
It's amazing to see kind of like pointing this out like when he was to that Shane Ryan piece or to it was like watching this happen in slow motion exactly like you knew it was going to happen, and then he's going to play really well this week at BMW
For sure,
because he typically like that. It's just kind of it's typically
he's in a really sort of
him.
He's in the damned if you do, damned if you don't sort of situation. At the moment, is he one of the best 12 American golfers? I would argue that he probably is. We know that how much the Ryder Cup means to him. We know that he can perform under pressure, etc., etc. I found what happened, the press conference after the Travelers, I found absolutely fascinating because it's the first time that we've actually heard Keegan say, oh no, this was the plan all along. Like Seth Wall called me up and told me I want you to be a playing captain. But when everything up to that point had been, unless I'm in the top 6, I'm absolutely not picking myself. And then there was this incredible sort of about turn, which is like, oh no, this is what we actually wanted to happen. If he picks himself and doesn't play well and the US lose, he's absolutely just
goat. The worst kind of goat. Like straight to hit him, and the rain suits from 2010 will hold the same like status
they go in the European Ryder Cup Hall of Fame. Yeah. Exactly.
So why do that? That's my whole thing. Like
because
it would be hard not to.
We all know the stories about the kit bag from Glen Eagles and everything, and he has for over a decade wanted to make another Ryder Cup team, and here he's got a chance where he can legitimately turn around and say, I am one of the best 12 American golfers. The team is in a better position if I'm on the team, and therefore I'm going to play. And I would imagine there are quite a few guys in the team who are saying, come on, captain, we want you to play as well. And whether that's right or wrong, I don't know. But if you pick yourself, you better make sure you play well. Like even if he plays well and the US team loses, he still comes out of it badly because people will turn around and say, "Oh, well, you were only half focused on actually being the best captain you could be." He has. The only way he comes out of it well is if the US win and he plays well.
I think a lot of fans want it too. I mean, it was interesting to see.
I want it as a fan.
Porter, I think a lot of fans that have thought about this for 0.8 seconds want it. Like,
well, but that's a lot. Yeah, but that's 80% of the fans.
That's most fans.
Yeah. But that doesn't make it a good decision, right? Like,
no. I'm not arguing that.
I know.
Like,
I'm talking to the fans right now. Like, we got a piece we're working on captaincy that's going to come out here.
Europe would never have got themselves into this position. Like,
exactly.
That's what I just find the extraordinary thing.
But that's like, is Seth Waugh just chuckling to himself? Like, man, this is really fun. Mission accomplished. We've got people talking about the Ryder Cup, laugh all the way to the bank if you're the PGA of America, which is, or like, because I don't know, like I mean, shit, they could be talking about a Charlie Woods captain's pick in 6 or 7 years purposes. For all we know, yeah, exactly.
I also think it's, and I think Tron and Jamie have pointed this out. Like, I don't know that for better or worse, I don't know that the captaincy on the U.S. side is as intensive as it is on the European side in terms of preparation. And I think at home that has served the U.S. seemingly fairly well. You know, Brooks kind of famously in 2021 talked about wanting less stuff going on. And so I do think it's more feasible for it would be completely infeasible for a European captain to even do this. I think it's more feasible on the US side. Whether you think that's like good strategically or a good, like, that the way the US goes about things is the right way is a completely different story. But I do think it is more feasible for a captain to do it on the US side.
No Laying Up is brought to you by FanDuel. Whether you're dialed in every shot or just following the action on the weekend, FanDuel keeps you locked into the PGA Tour action all week long because all customers get a profit boost every third and fourth round of the BMW Championship. Use your boost on anything from closest to pin to outright winners to top 20 and 30 bets and more. Plus, you can stack those bets and make a parlay. Look, we joke about it within this episode. Keegan's got to win this week, right? It's got to be Keegan. That's the only way this was ever going to end. If that was not enough, you can track your favorite golfers in the app with live leaderboards. You got player shot tracking. TC can still follow Fleetwood around wherever he goes. Streaming coverage for 2 featured par 3 holes and more if you can handle it. Head over to FanDuel.com/NLU. Step up to the tee and take a swing at betting the PGA Tour with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. FanDuel, official betting operator of the PGA Tour. Must be 21 and older and present in select states, 18 and older in D.C., Kentucky, Wyoming. Opt-in required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable profit boost tokens. Restrictions apply, including any token expiration and max wager amount. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/Chad in Connecticut. Back to the pod.
I just think, I mean, it's for me, it's the little things like, and people will roll their eyes at this and say that it doesn't matter and it doesn't make a single difference out in the golf course, and they're probably right to an extent. But I think of the little things like 2 years ago, Luke presenting every player with like little miniature Ryder Cups and having an empty space in the middle of a bookshelf. That's where I want to put the real Ryder Cup on Sunday evening. Or Paul McGinley having, you know, a fish tank which was only full of blue and gold fish in the team room in Glen Eagles. Little things like that. A captain spends so much time and attention and energy making sure all those little touches are in place that when a player gets there, all he has to do is concentrate on playing his very best golf, and just little touches to make him feel valued and he's part of the European Ryder Cup family. Keegan cannot possibly be pouring all of his devotion and attention into doing that whilst also trying to make sure his game is in the best possible place. And
yeah, but those are your captains. None of our captains do that.
Yeah, no, exactly. And that's why I'm saying this. Europe would never have been in this position. Like, it's just,
right.
It is the two different approaches
and they're taking time to honor the great man Seve. And you know, the US should be taking time to honor the great man Phil.
They're going to be bringing in Kelly James here, I'm sure, and just call it a day. Let's ship it. Let's go for it. But
so, real quick, all right? So JT, you feel better about that than you did maybe 6 months ago. Even I feel like he's raised his floor.
I mean, I guess it was not quite 6 months ago, but he had a really good spring and a really good start to the year. It's not been the best kind of run through the summer, but I'm not concerned. I also think, like, yeah, Rome did not go great for him, but he won his singles match and he played the rest of them with Spieth, who was like borderline unplayable at that point. Did he play great? No, but like, it's a really, really, really tall ask when your partner can't keep the ball in play. So I'm inclined to
come on.
Yeah, on the team,
for sure.
the team. Just how do you feel about it going in? I think was more of the question, more than being on the team. But
because I think he's a strength. I think he's an asset.
Yeah, and I think free him up from Jordan and figure out what kind of pairing would go. I think you turn him loose, and you got to play him the first session. That was a massive mistake that ZJ made, I thought, in Rome, was before JT put a peg in the they were down 4-0. So, and the people still want to blame JT for that, for losing that Ryder Cup. It's like, well, it was over before he even got to play. So,
especially on home soil as well. JT is the cheerleader of that team. He's the emotional energy of that team. He's going to be like a caged tiger. Just fucking get him out in the golf course as soon as you can.
100%. So if we're let's work through the final 3 spots then, I guess. If we're willing to say JT, Morikawa, and Griffin are going to be inked, which I think they would. Is Cantlay inked for you, Porter, as of right now?
Well, again, I think there's a difference between what I think should happen and what I think will happen. I have heard that he is inked, but personally, personally, I would not have him inked on my team. But I think for the purpose of like, is he going to be on the team? Yes, he's going to be on the team.
5-2-1 Ryder Cup record. Saw what he did in Rome. He is 12th best American over the last 3 months, 6th best American over the last 6 months. Don't think he could possibly play bad enough to keep himself off this team. And I would take him 100%.
He's been better than Keegan and Ben Griffin over the last 6 months and better than all but 3 Europeans, which is sort of my point of like, sometimes we talk about Cantlay, like, oh, he sucks right now. And it's like, there's only
Still
been
better.
There's only been 3 Euros that have been better than him over the last 6 months. And again, I get that you can throw out the strokes gain stuff and we get to match play. Like, I understand all that. But the way that we talk about it going in, I think should even shift from some of the discourse right now about how these two teams are being talked about.
Because Morikawa is more of a question on how he's playing than Cantlay is. And I'm still not considering leaving Morikawa off this team. In a different scenario, in a different year where you have Scotty Scheffler being the 12th man like he was in 2021, does the Morikawa decision get more interesting? Sure, maybe. But like, I'm not... As of right now, my final 2 spots are Chris Gotterup and Cameron Young, and 13th, I don't even know who that would be right now. So I'm not taking whoever that would be over Morikawa.
Soly and Kyle, are you in agreement of the 10 so far that Kyle said? This, the current top 6 plus Morikawa, Thomas, Griffin, and Cantlay. You in agreement on that as well?
Yeah.
He's not as committed on the Cantlay part as I probably am. But
so now you're talking two spots, and the candidates for those last 2 spots. Am I right in thinking you've got Keegan Bradley, Sam Burns, Cam Young, Chris Gotterup, Jordan Spieth, Mav McNeely? 2 of those 6. Is that where it ends?
2 of those 6, I think.
Jackson Koiven.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Thank you.
I know.
It's interesting. I don't believe he's a member of the PGA of America.
They could probably fix that pretty quickly.
I would think so, but I think he'd have to turn pro, and I don't know if he wants to do that. But it's interesting, and it's something that I think Europe could have planned for that I don't think the U.S. has planned for in any way.
Yeah, they don't even know that he exists.
Yeah, well, I just don't. He's played very few events, but his numbers look incredible, and it's just hard to like say to a Cameron Young and the people that have gone through the gauntlet of testing themselves weekly and have some solid results. Like, hey, this amateur that didn't really go through all of that is better than you and gives us a better chance to win in Rome. I think that's just a pretty big leap at the moment. Ludwig turned pro in May of 2023 and had very clear success immediately, even before he turned. I think that was a different kind of decision. Totally. But I think the Spieth thing, do you agree? I think that is sunset. I think if you did not qualify for the BMW Championship, I think he's played solid golf, better golf than people have recognized and realized and wanted to admit over the last season. I just still don't think he's Jordan. I don't think he's like nowhere near peak Jordan, obviously, but not even, he doesn't look comfortable on the golf course to me right now. He doesn't look like he can string 4 good solid days together. It just doesn't look like a consistent game right now to the point where I would feel comfortable taking him over guys that have clearly outplayed him over the last several weeks and months. I'm curious where you stand. I know I've said that I thought he was more likely to make the team than not. I would have thought we had some top 20s and top 10s throughout at some point this summer and into this fall, and it didn't materialize. I don't regret anything I said on this matter, but it doesn't. I don't think I can advocate for that as of right now.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think, well, one, he's unplayable in alternate shot. Like you can't. I don't think you can like roll him out there, right? Like there's just, you could play him in 4 balls, but I don't think you could play him in foursomes. And I think the other thing that's weird about Spieth is he's been strangely consistent, but it's like T21 consistent. Like
the upside isn't there anymore.
Yeah, if you look at his numbers compared to like a Ben Griffin, I was looking at this last week. Over the last, I don't know what it was, 6 months, 9 months, they've been very similar. But Spieth has been like right here, finishing in the top 25, and Griffin has like given himself chances to win. And I just think that is more. I just think that's more valuable, and maybe there's more volatility there, but I don't know. Some of that you're probably like wanting in a match play situation. So I agree with you. Unfortunately, on Spieth,
there's one other thing. There's one other thing I'd add about Spieth as well is that in Justin Thomas, you've got a little bit of a Ryder Cup cheat code. You've got somebody who is the emotional heartbeat of the team. and can catch fire and just bring everybody with him and be, and have incredible success. Having Jordan, you almost have to pair Jordan with him, and that could act as just an anchor to somebody in your team who has that X factor, who has that ability to just put red points on the board. So I think that is maybe something that works against having Jordan Spieth in the team as well.
Who have they even put Spieth with other than JT? They had with Brooks that one time.
Pat Reed,
that was kind of weird.
And P.
And
P.
Who,
which I think if Spieth is not on the team, you still have to invite Greller. Greller needs to be an assistant captain or just driving one of the carts.
I get down with that. Do you think?
Shit, maybe you have Greller caddy for Morikawa, just so you know what size uniform to get him, because he's on his 5th different caddy of the season. Like they probably don't know what size to get. They're having to order an entire extra size run of stuff just to account for whoever's on the bag for him.
He needs to sort that situation as soon as possible.
Do you think Spieth will? Do you think if he's not on the team, which I think we agree that he won't be, which he didn't make the BMW, even though he got like 5 sponsor exemptions. That was tough.
It's tough. I guess I don't chide him as much for that. He didn't get into all of the signature events, and he didn't get in. He didn't play his way in from last year because he was hurt last year and needed surgery, right? So it was kind of a rush. It's not like he was in the top 50 and didn't make the top 50 again this go around. And there is a tie back to the injury part that
for sure
would excuse that. And I think if he would have made the top 50 last year and didn't need surgery and all that stuff, would he have probably made the BMW and we could have strung this out another week? Probably. I just think it's hard.
If he's not in the BMW, you can't even consider him. Right?
I would think so. And that doesn't mean that I don't think they won't go off the board to pick him. Like I think there's still a chance they might do that. It's just really hard to justify with numbers as we sit here right now. And I think it's just hard to look at, like, I don't know, if Goddard and Cam Young finished near the bottom in the final 2 weeks, then do you consider going farther off the board? Maybe. But that's where the Keegan problem comes in of like, well, if I'm going to go off the board, I might as well pick myself.
Yeah.
And
I also don't know how. I think I know how JT is in the team room and as the sort of emotional center of that team. I remember in 2016 at Hazeltine, Phil kind of designated Spieth as like the future of American golf, and in reference to Ryder Cups, President's Cups, all this different stuff. But I don't know that he is necessarily the vocal, emotional, like heart and soul of that team. I think there's a component of that. I just don't know how Keegan or the other vice captains or the team like views Spieth of being in the team room. Does that make sense? Like, yeah. I think he matters, but I remember Soly having this conversation in 2023. JT is the only guy that I would have said he has to be there based on how he's playing in 2023, which was terrible. And I remember us specifically saying not even Spieth, because right. They're different.
They're different. They're different.
And so I don't know how they view him. If they view him a lot more highly than I think they do, then maybe they do go off the board a little bit and take him still.
So what we're talking about here is, depending upon how they feel about the core of the team, we're talking about guys that are going to be playing maybe 2 sessions, right? Like, how much do you want to? Because I think, like, I'm looking at the Cantlay stats. His putter's been a little bulky this year. He's still the same driver of the golf ball. He's still like, I would have, and I think you want somebody that steely and that, like, he's gonna play really well in that environment. Cantlay is like,
he was awesome in Rome,
more so than anybody else. I think is like, I have confidence that, similar to Rose, that like he's gonna get better as the stakes get higher in the Ryder Cup. Now, why that hasn't translated to majors, I don't know, but I think there is something about match play where, like, you can play offense and there's less downside risk to a shot. But, like, I think a lot of this comes down to how you feel about the core of your team, right? With Xander, and I would feel good about Scotty and Spawn, and I would feel great about Henley. Probably going to send Bryson out there at least 4 sessions, but so it's kind of like, all right, are you crafting this to get a good roll of dice in singles, and then someone who is an obvious match with someone in either foursomes or 4-ball, right? And so it's kind of like, hey, what are your obvious pairings? And if Sam Burns doesn't make the team, who are you pairing Scotty with? Right. I think that's an
Henley.
essential question.
Henley.
And is there
Russell Henley,
someone?
surely.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And does
Yeah.
does Russell Henley's rise to prominence has that adversely affected Sam Burns' chances of being a pick, because Scotty's got his ready-made
Probably.
partner? You don't
Yeah.
need Sam Burns anymore.
Sam Burns' defense school here, he was one of the better American players in Rome. I know everyone remembers that disastrous first session he had, but like at least from a strokes game perspective, he was one of the best Americans we had. Now, granted, nobody really played well over there, but I think people erase him as his record wasn't very good at the President's Cup. He played at Quail Hollow, but he carried Scotty in that one. And a funny thing about like we're an hour into this, and like the Ryder Cup, at least from the American side, is going to matter way more about how Scotty Scheffler plays than how the 12th man plays. It's just not what a lot of the content ends up being on the front end. The European chances is going to ride way more on John Rahm and Rory McIlroy than it will Rasmus Højgaard, who picks up that 12th spot. But that's been just a quiet thing in, like, at least from Rome, is like Scotty was a zombie over there, which made absolutely no sense. And he's clearly emerged as like, is he going to, a big question I have is like, are you going to be like the Tiger of like, we can't figure out why you can't play well in this format, or are you just going to like continue to be the best player in the world and stomp on fools over there? Because that's again, just way more of a question than kind of figuring out this bottom of the team. Not nearly as fun to talk about for 6 months as we want to do.
I think another thing with Burns is like, just looking at the President's Cup, he played really well up in Canada as well. He had a good week that week.
Yeah, he
paired up with Morikawa. Yeah, and then pretty fruitful pairing with Cantlay as well. So he's a high floor, safe pick that you can get 3 sessions out of.
Would clearly rather have him than Keegan on the team for me.
So your bottom two,
captaincy reason.
just Soly, just to get it, your bottom two at the moment are Young and Goddard.
If you're getting ready to play it next week and you made me pick, that's probably what I would do, especially considering the course fit of, all right, we're going bomber. Henley, you're not a bomber, but you're going to play with Scotty, and that's going to be a fantastic fit for you. And almost everybody's going to be above average distance. I think Burns is a totally fine pick, definitely unsexy, and I think it could fit. I almost wonder if I'd rather not do it just because of the narrative around it of boys club. And I just don't know if I could hear those two words together for an entire another cycle of Ryder Cup.
Young and Goddard is the sexy pick, if you like. And I can see the temptation of playing them together in 4 balls as well. 2 New Yorkers and get the crowd going and both make a ton of birdies. And, a little bit like Holmes and Weekly were at Valhalla, a real sort of the New Yorker boys out there together in 4 balls. How can you not want that as a captain? I can completely see the appeal of that.
Yeah. And I mean, again, another one like, and Eduardo talked about this too, of, those guys might be too similar of players. Like, do you pair a Cameron Young with a JJ Spawn, who you want your four ball pairings to be birdieing different holes, to be, you don't want to be covering each other up. Now, granted, that's kind of when you get into the variance element of it. Like, dude, I don't know how you can possibly predict how JJ, these guys are going to birdie a lot of holes as it stands anyways. But and that when you get into the pairings, and I mean, I think Xander and Cantlay would make a ton of sense, obviously, on the US side. And that's something we've seen many times in many different team events. The Morikawa, who you pairing Morikawa up with is a big question. And where does Bryson fit into everything? I think Bryson's elevated his play to the point where he's going to be a feature, and you figure out how to make it. It should work with almost anything. Now, how does it work with foursomes with him, with whatever the hell golf ball testing he's doing right now? And again, going back to Eduardo's conversation about testing, Ludwig was testing somebody's ball I forget who it was, several months before the Ryder Cup, of like, could this pairing work? And Ludwig was hitting it 30 yards shorter with that golf ball. So they were like, okay, well, that's out. But you can also sub in different golf balls as you're playing. There's so many elements to all of piecing together the foursome stuff that we can guess all we want. I just got like 0.1% of the information I would need to be able to slate some of that
I guess
out.
Another thing is like who do you put HE with?
Yeah.
right? And like he paired up with Finau, I think
yeah.
at Whistling Straits. So if Big Tone's not on the team, is he the guy you pair
I
with
think
Bryson?
you could put Harris English with anybody, couldn't you? Like, what a steady
Yeah.
player to have in your team.
Yeah, and steady personality
Elegant
too.
golfer.
Just
Yeah.
yeah. But I mean, Soly, to your point, like I I think it'll be really interesting if Mav McNeely plays well this week. Because I think Mav is a sleeper. I think he's played well in match plays. He played in 2 Walker Cups. Um, and like he's one of those guys that I'd love to see get a chance because I think he's a very analytical player. I think I don't know. I just he drives the ball very well. You know, he's someone that I think all things being equal, like, I don't think he would get flustered in the moment, but who knows? And I'm on the Cam Young bandwagon as well. I just think he's got loud traits.
Yeah. And he's putting so freaking well. And, putting's not that kind of thing where you can say a month and a half from now, you're going to be putting just as well. I know, but it's easy to fall in love with right now. It's just hard to like, I was looking at this too, a way of
when we
looking
did this podcast last time, Soly, the look that you gave me when I even suggested Cam Young was like a derisory roll of the eyes. Like, no.
Well, I also think the other thing with Cam Young is he's not necessarily somebody I would consider taking on the road, because I think one of the things we learned in Rome is you got to bring your own juice.
Energy.
Like you got to bring your own energy, and he for all the things that he does well, he doesn't do that very well. And so, but I think at home it doesn't. I'm good with it. I think if he plays halfway decent this week, I think he's
he ticks every box, doesn't he? He's just like, he has a game made for Bethpage. He is a New Yorker. He makes a ton of birdies. Like, he's playing well at the moment. I don't see how, if the team's being picked tomorrow, he doesn't get in.
Soly, how far down the list do you have to go until you say, okay, I'd rather have Keegan than that guy? As let's say Keegan is like the 12th guy. How
like
far
Daniel
down
Berger? Would you rather have Daniel Berger or Keegan?
That's close.
That's kind of the territory.
Probably Berger still. I just am so out on
Novak.
I mean,
Novak or Keegan.
But you know what? Like, I'm so out on the.
That was a genuine question.
No, it's a good one. It's a good one. But I also will say I'm so out on the idea of a playing captain. But again, like, we're so far into it now. Like, so much of what I think the potential damage that could be done has been done. I'm less afraid of him going for it now. I just think this all could have been avoided to this point, and we wouldn't have to, do any of this. Whether or not it actually matters, we'll see. But like, I just don't think this was a necessary risk. I think that
a Novak Goddard pairing, just a burly ass.
Look, honestly,
Novak and Griffin.
I'd rather Keegan probably at this point, and I'd rather I was just dead wrong about the playing captain thing, and it won't be a big deal. Like, that's probably what I would go with. Like, everyone's yelled at me for this. I got TC to come around to my side, which is like the hardest thing in the world to do. I think I only need to convince. No, I think I convinced the whole team. Like, as much as they've just been winding me up all year long, I think I'm going to play around.
Just indulge me, Soly. I'm going to play a game here.
Oh, okay? God.
I'm just going to go down the list, right? This is the 12th pick, okay? And it comes down to Keegan or, and I'm going to give you a name. And just tell me whether you go for Keegan or the name I give you, okay? So Keegan or Denny McCarthy.
Keegan
or Kurt Kitayama.
Keegan.
It feels like we're breaking some news here.
Keegan or Akshay.
I mean, Soly's a huge Akshay guy.
I'm a big Akshay guy.
I'd love to be Akshay.
Keegan or Brian Harmon.
Keegan.
Keegan or Andrew Novak.
I'm in on Novak.
I am too. Like, it's Keegan though. Like,
there we go. Right, it's Keegan's on the team.
Keegan or Wyndham.
End of podcast.
Honestly, I might take the blow pig over
just to get under the skin of the Europeans.
Here's the thing, though. Like, I think some of this could get worked out a little bit if let's say Novak wins this week at the BMW, right?
God, that'd be sick.
Then I think you've got Cantlay Cam Young and Novak as a pretty obvious 10, 11, 12 going into.
Can I stop you there? Like, why would that be obvious though? Like, why if Novak wins this week, do you think that improves his chances of being a better player in Rome?
No,
like,
but
I don't. So why would you build a team that way?
Yeah.
I mean, Soly, what if Ryan Gerard wins the Tour Championship?
Hottest player in the world. You got to put him on the team.
But Soly, I think this is where it's like I think the US is very concerned about what their PR image is.
Yeah, I agree.
Right. And so I think it would be, I think they go so much on like, oh, well, what's the least amount of blowback I can get from totally.
Massively.
And so
I think Luke and Dodo are
you,
so set on what they want to do, and they could not care less what the reaction to that is. Whereas I think Keegan is somebody, and this isn't a reflection on Keegan, but Keegan and his assistant captains are much more likely to sway and go with what they think the public sentiment would be for something.
But I think the Euros also do a better job broadly, not talking Ryder Cup, but of like sort of giving breadcrumbs to us idiots in the media of like, hey, kind of thinking about Ludwig here, like 6 months out to turn the tide a little bit and get people on board. I think they know how to play the game a lot better than, I mean, does Keegan talk to anybody about any of this? There's just I don't know. It's kind of a weird thing. And I think I agree with you, Soly, about the like Andrew Novak wouldn't be better in Bethpage if he wins this week or doesn't, but the perception of what Andrew Novak is would change a lot if he wins this weekend at the BMW. And
that's where the reason I was challenging you on that is so many fans think that way, right? And I'm genuinely curious, and I get the sense that the U.S. captains think that way as well. I mean, Keegan said it Keegan said after he won Travelers that changed things, and I wanted to scream from the rooftops, like, what if Tommy would have just stuffed it on 18 and he would have finished second? Like, in what world would that one shot gap possibly make a difference come September, right? And that's where I think so much of that thinking has been so prevalent with the U.S. side for decades that at some point you need to just get rid of that. You need to not think in that way. And
it sounds like you need a task force.
That's a very American worldview, though, right? Like it's binary. But you won or you didn't, and it's a very non-European worldview, which I think is what.
And it's kind of what Jim Furyk did in Paris in 2018, and I know we've sort of discussed this plenty, and he kind of had no other option really, but he went with the hot hands in 2018, and they all were just exhausted, emotionally spent, and Tiger was a shell of himself a week on from what he had to do at the Tour Championship. And so I do think there's a massive part in the US thinking comes into, how will this be received publicly?
Thankfully, we got Phil Bryson out of that, so it was solid.
Do you guys think Phil will be a Ryder Cup captain?
Yes.
No. Really?
Yeah.
No.
I think so too.
I think there's a second act here where Phil is a Ryder Cup captain, a broadcaster. I think time heals a lot of things, and I still think Phil has like a kind of a cool like final act.
I think it's easier for an American to be welcomed back into the fold than it is for a European, because the PGA of America and the PGA Tour are two separate entities, than it is for a lot of those European guys that left and decided to burn the house down on their way out the door are still, and for a long time will be, persona non grata within the European Tour, Ryder Cup Europe family. And interestingly, them naming them sort of saying that the 2031 Ryder Cup was going to be in Spain, I suddenly thought, do you know who would be kind of the perfect captain for that? But is there too much water under the bridge? Has too much damage been done? I don't know whether everyone will sort of bash their heads together and a few sort of, a bit of humble pie will be eaten within the next 6 years. But Sergio would be the perfect captain for a PGA, for a European.
I think there's two options
in Catalonia
for that captaincy. It's either Pablo Larrazabal or a hologram of the great man Seve.
I thought you were going to say Pablo Martin.
Kyle, I can't imagine. Like, Phil has been. I don't know. What do you weigh what he's said publicly versus what would happen? Like, I honestly, a concern of mine would be if Phil was a captain. I can't believe we're doing this right now ahead of this Ryder Cup. But like, what he might, like, what he was saying about
This should have
Joaquin
been his
Neiman
Ryder Cup.
versus Scotty. Like, what if he takes 6 live? I honestly don't know if he would give the PGA Tour guys enough of a crap. I think Liv's gone by this time.
That's sort of what I'm saying.
I've read on the Everything app that's not going to happen.
Grant Horvat.
Take Grant Horvat.
The winner of the Creator Classic, it's an auto.
Sully, you might play in a Ryder Cup.
Or the winner of the Creator Classic and the winner of the duels faces off for one of those spots.
I think there is maybe a world where Phil does commentary because it would be so entertaining. I think the curtain has come down on Phil being this genius that he thinks he is, and I don't think they would hand the keys over to him. But I could be wrong because it would sell tickets. And that seems to be the driver of things.
It's an entertainment product,
for sure. Like
this
I think it would be.
Don't forget that this should have been Bethpage was penciled in to be Phil's captaincy, wasn't it? When it was announced.
Yeah, no European captain would ever take the money over the captaincy. That's one thing we know for sure. That would never happen. So,
I mean, Soly, what's the worst case scenario over the next couple weeks for you? Keegan wins winning. Either BMW or Tour Championship, or
both.
Novak wins, or
Novak winning. I have to do the math. I don't even think that would automatic qualify him. I guess I got to have a little bit of faith in the process here of that they would not let results from like the last couple of weeks override a bigger picture image of where they're probably sitting right now. I think worst case is like
Johnston wins the Denmark.
This is a genuine question. Do you even know who that guy in the room is? So Luke, Luke's pretty much
is
Luke knows
Snedeker
what he
that
wants
guy?
to do anyway. Luke knows what he wants to do anyway, right? But he has got Dodo alongside him who's saying, this is what the numbers are saying. This is what we're going to do. This is plan A. If plan A doesn't work, this is plan B and this is plan C. Who is the guy alongside Keegan saying, nah, trust me, these 12 guys are the guys that are going to win us back the Ryder Cup? Does he have somebody alongside him doing that?
Probably Furyk would be my guess on that. And you can scoff at that, but I mean, like,
no, I'm not scoffing.
The guy, no, I mean, Rome did not go great for him, but the reviews from players Paris did not go great for him, but the reviews from players from his President's Cup captaincy were very strong in terms of the organization. And if you go back, we interviewed Jim summer of 2020, kind of reflecting on Rome, and he was very upfront about things he'd learned from there. And from the guys I'd talked to, it felt like those lessons had taken and that it was a positive experience they had.
And he's the only one with experience.
Granted, that's President's Cup, and that's different.
No, but yes, he will be leaning on Furyk massively, I'm sure, because all of the other assistant captains, it's the first time round for them as well.
Correct. And I think you can question some of the decisions he's made, but there's something to say for somebody that's gone through it all to know where the landmines are at minimum. Like if you go all brand new captains that have all never been there, like you're going to get tripped up by some landmines of some stuff, whether or not, people recognize that or not. There's just procedural shit. There's, not being organized. Like that's the lesson Jim learned. He was not organized enough with contingency plans with some of his pairings in Rome. If this went really wrong, what do we do? And that's something that was very organized for the President's Cup. So if it
Tiger
gets turned over,
Pat Reed down, things like that.
Yeah, he did not plan for that.
Yeah, we haven't talked about P yet.
Yeah,
you know what's disappointing is you've got a 5-time major winner who won at Bethpage, who should be in his prime, and he's completely not pickable. I think that is such a bummer. Like, and I know there's injuries and whatever, but it just, I don't know. Like I'm very disappointed in that.
Honestly, I'm relieved. I watched Koepka in Rome. I watched him and talked to him while he was over on the putting green by himself during one of the sessions, just kind of like being pretty disinterested in the whole process. Granted, that might be a reflection of ZJ more than it is anything, but I'm just kind of like, I'm good on the Brooks thing. I mean, he's shat the bed twice the last two Ryder, and those were road ones. I mean, he's been good in the home ones, so maybe that's a bit unfair, but I'm honestly just kind of, I'm ready to move on from that aspect from the Ryder Cup.
I agree with you. I just am disappointed that there's not more like focus and like want to from him. I mean, think about if that was a Euro that like Justin, started talking about Justin Rose. Like he just wants it so badly. And Brooks, it just seems like it's kind of like, I've done that, like whatever. and you're just like, that sucks. Like that's a bummer. Like from an American standpoint.
The weird thing for me with
So
Brooks is,
there-
you talk about, the fact that he in the US Ryder Cups he's been pretty solid, and on the last 2 road ones he just hasn't turned up. For me, you would think that Brooks Koepka, who was somebody that decided to cut his teeth on the Challenge Tour and the European Tour and try to expand his horizons and experience golf around the world, would be the one person who you would think that would turn up for a Road Ryder Cup, and it just has not been the case. So it's a bit of a sort of strange one, that.
Yep.
What's the chances that Kyle and Soly? What's the chances that we get somebody off the board, like a total curveball? Let's say, even just setting aside, like he's playing really well right now, and let's say he plays really well the next couple weeks, like a Kurt Kitayama, and they see something with course setup and say, all right, you know what? Like we know how we're going to set up this golf course. It suits his traits to a T, or a Lucas Glover even, or someone like that. I mean, he's won at Bethpage before.
I think very low. I think so often they default to going to the team and saying like, who do you guys want? Like I think about
Boys Club.
I think about Scheffler in 2021. That was kind of like we need to have this guy on the team, and so
turned out to be a good call, that one.
I don't, for sure. I don't know that I just don't. I part of it is like they have too many guys that are that you could choose from in those like 12 to 15 spots right now. I don't see that happening.
I mean, if Cam and Goddard have a tough 2 final weeks, I think as much as I don't want to base everything off of that, like a really tough playoff stretch from Goddard, like he had 3 great tournaments and 3 bad tournaments.
Yeah,
I think there's wiggle. I think there's a way he could play himself off the team. Like I don't think his spot is like.
Totally.
I'm not as convinced there. Cameron Young's success stretches back a little bit farther, going back to US Open, and I think he's maybe got a little bit more runway than Goddard might have.
He's got years of credit in the bank as well, to an extent. Cameron Young, he's not. I mean,
he's got a nice record.
Appeared out of nowhere.
Yeah. So worst case scenario is like both those guys shit the bed, and you're scrambling for those final 2 spots. Keegan's got to pick himself, and then the last one goes to Sam Burns, and then the team, like the energy and mojo from a fan perspective, would be at an all-time low heading into that, because you had the boys club on top. Well, maybe, I don't know. People I think would cheer Keegan being the captain, playing captain at this point.
Yeah, they would.
But
I also don't know how many. I don't think I'm in on Goddard as the 12th guy right now. I think I would take. Take Burns over him, partly because like the courses that he had success on, it's like not a facsimile for Bethpage at all, right? And I just don't know how much value I put on it. It feels a little bit like the Lucas Glover thing in 2023, where it's like, oh well, he had these two weeks in August, and like he's got to be on the team, and you're like, nah, maybe. Like the
only difference there is the distance, like. Going to Bethpage with distance, I think, is a little bit different. You can make that case a lot easier. That's where like the Novak thing doesn't get me as excited about hot play. Is like he's not a long hitter, and it's not doesn't necessarily set up that great for it.
He had success on 2 links golf courses in July. Therefore, he's
that's what I'm saying.
But he played well at Twin Cities. I was kind of like, all right, that's actually good to see. Like I wanted you to see you play well at just the green grass golf course.
Totally. I think that's the Twin Cities and the the CJ Cups of the world, right? I think it's gonna be really, really important for the US team to send their dudes out first and get off to a good start in this thing. Cause I could see the US crowd turning on this US team if they put up a stinker day one.
New Yorkers,
into
oiled up blue collar New Yorkers. Although maybe they've been priced out.
Surely they'll be reasonable.
And like really riding a guy like Morikawa, or
they turned on Brooks in 2019.
Yeah,
that was
did.
sick. Yeah, that's so. A couple
of the alternative
questions I want to get to. We got a bunch of questions. We've kind of worked some of them in, but want to spell this out. This is a good one from Eli Harden. Is the Ryder Cup the pinnacle of the sport and win at all cost competition, or a hit and giggle designed to recognize and honor the best players over the last 24 months? Because the answer to this completely changes how you pick a team, and I lean towards the latter, meaning he says it's more of a hit and giggle. Jamie, you wanted this question.
I just think that question is so sad and kind of sums up an American attitude to the Ryder Cup. And look, that's not painting with a broad brush. I know a lot of Americans feel extremely passionate about the Ryder Cup. Exhibit A is Chris Solomon right here. But just for Europeans, it is absolutely everything. Like, it just, they would, you know, you think of Seve clutching Faldo's face in 95, both of them in floods of tears. You think of Monty holding the winning putt in 2004. You think of the entire team room speaking to a dying Seve on the phone in 2010 at Celtic Manor. You think of Rory in floods of tears after he lost the Ryder Cup 4 years ago at Whistling Straits. It is the be-all and end-all, the Ryder Cup, for a European. And the perception, rightly or wrongly, is that the Americans just do not care as much. And the words hit and giggle would never be uttered by a European golfer when it comes to the Ryder Cup. That is so much the crux of what the main difference between the two sides is, that those European guys would absolutely batter the door down to get onto that team. That is just, for 2 years, it's all they can think about is making that next Ryder Cup team. The egos are left at the door for alpha males like John Ram, Rory McIlroy. It's this 1 week which is just sacrosanct. And you've heard Rory speak about he had 3 career dreams he wanted to accomplish. One was to win the career Grand Slam. That's done. And another is win another Ryder Cup, an away Ryder Cup. That's how much it means. So I just think that question is so symptomatic of an American attitude towards the Ryder Cup. And I know that's not speaking for everybody. I know there are Justin Thomases and Max Homas of this world who care passionately about putting on that red, white, and blue. But I think there are a lot more Americans, the likes of Brooks, we've mentioned, Patrick Cantlay, Xander Schauffele, where it's not life and death for them, where it's just, okay, it's great, I've made the team and I'll go out and I'll give it my best shot. But if we lose, we lose, whatever. And I think that's really sort of hit the nail on the head.
It all comes back to the great man, Seve.
It does.
Well, look, it is. I know you
Real.
sort of, but it is part of it. You know, it is a big
for sure. And
You're making up narratives. We're not rolling our eyes at any of this stuff, man.
Yeah.
We recognize it. I think it just comes down to, I think typically the United States team is more talented. I think you have to go back to 2014 to convincingly say the Europeans had a better team in 2014 than the US did. So the ability of Europe to overcome the odds as the underdog and win this event is, and make up that talent gap is what makes it super interesting to me. Granted, it could just be chalked up to home field advantage at this point because the modern one has trended that direction. I don't really have an answer to that, but
I think it's also there's always this undertone, Jamie, of like the things that matter the most in the United States have the most money attached to them. Like, just not even talking about golf, just generally. That's how we keep score, and which is not, I think, the best way to like go about living your life, but that's just how things are in our society, in our world. True. And so I think there's sometimes this weird like thing of, oh, well, there's no money, like nobody's getting paid, so like, does this mean a lot? Like, there's almost this like question of like, can I care about this? You know, like, can I give myself over to this? And it reminds me a little bit of college football in a way, Tron, of like, you know, the commercialization of it has, I think, tainted the way that we view it a little bit. And I think that's somewhat happening with the Ryder Cup as time goes. I'm sure private equity will get involved at some point over the next 10 years or whatever.
The PGA Tour is just going to take the screws to the PGA of America and say, hey, you either sell us a pretty big portion of this thing, or we're going to ratchet up the appearance fee for these guys, you know?
Yeah. So I think that is always like an undertone here of like, it's just it's a weird, I view it the way you do, Jamie, but I think sometimes like on the whole, it's not viewed that way.
I agree with you that there's this whole, US culture is about look after number one, and the more money you make in life, the more of a success you are as an individual. But what I sort of wrestle with a little bit is, if you say to me who are one of the most patriotic countries in the world, who cares most about their anthem and their flag, and it's the USA. So I'm surely a competition where you are pitting your country against another continent. Like, it should tap into
put a boot in your ass.
It's about being American. About why does patriotism go out the window for this competition?
I have a kind of a theory on this, and it doesn't go out the window. It shines through in the mentality of how you go about doing it, how you can go. Like, I think Justin Thomas wants to win this thing as badly as Rory McIlroy does, but Rory has shown an ability to buy into it. The first one, there is a process to buy into, and he is willing to lay himself. Like, the analogy I always give is like, you check your nameplate outside the locker room and you pick it back. Your Team Europe when you show up and get there. And when JT gets to the Ryder Cup, he's still JT, right? And I think all these guys really want to win it. I think Cantley wants to win it. I think they just want to do it in their own way. I think they
play well in singles. Solid.
They play well in singles, and they want to just be like, I'm going to go be, Colin Morikawa, and I'm going to whoop your ass more than I am going to be part of Team USA and do it together as a team. And I know you can roll your eyes at that in terms of like it's an individual sport.
I'm not even talking about the golfers per se. I'm not even talking about the guys who represent the team. I'm talking about the general public attitude towards it as well. The fact that you have a question from an American, I'm assuming he's an American listener, saying, "Oh, I think it's probably a bit of a hit and giggle." Well, I would have thought American golf fans are like, "Oh my God, here's our chance to go and assert our dominance over another continent, show that we're the best in the world at this sport." I can't understand how that wouldn't just tap into a real American attitude towards sport.
No, I don't know have a good answer to it. I just don't think like a lot of fans think about like care. US is on. I'm going to watch and root for Team US. But there's also a huge culture in the U.S. of just like shitting all over your favorite team as well. I do it with the Reds all the time. Yeah. Like, it's almost more fun to hate your team and get mad at everyone in the process than it is to will them to victory. Like, there's a lot of that in American sports as well.
We have that too.
Yeah.
Well, there's also a sense of when you lose, you're like, I didn't care about that anyway. Like, whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's another thing that amazes me about Europe is like, every 4 years, there's a home Ryder Cup. It's in a different country. And like, you would think these fans do this weekly with the chants and the songs and the connect, like Tommy Fleetwood. How the hell did you get a Tommy Fleetwood and Molinari chant organized in time? They'd never played together before Paris. They're doing it all the way to the train stations. Like, that's just a different way. We'd rather just yell at our players if they screw up more than like, seriously, rather boo them than we would kind of take on that kind of, attitude and everything. But it's a really
Soly, one last question for me. Is the whole US team, with the exception of Bryson, are they all going to play Napa to get ready for this thing?
I don't know if everyone is. I think they're going to get close. They're trying to get everyone, and I hope they would. I hope Bryson comes and is just walking around out there. I hope they get everyone there at least. And
Bryson should go do breaking 50 or whatever for like 4 days straight at Bethpage.
Get one. Yeah, potential. He could audition potential playing partners off the course. And do the breaking 50. Yeah, I love that idea. I think there are lessons to be learned from Rome. I don't know how they could have possibly not known that they would be jet lagged and that they would be competitively rusty. That'd have been something that I was on that list of things of like, I kind of trust them to at least know that part, and they use that as an excuse. If I was to like put on the majorly rose-colored glasses from 2023, a part that everyone wants to roll their eyes at and not give any kind of, recognition to, is the fact that half the team was on antibiotics because they were hit with something in that week. And again, I know that always gets met with an eye roll, but like Ricky couldn't play one of the days because he was so sick apparently. And
it's the most important availability.
Yeah. And so again, that's excuse making, and it's never going to end up winning the day. But that's something that I've at least tried to consider over time as well. The same way that like 2021 was a massively weird year for the Europeans in terms of COVID and travel and not being able to have fans there and everything. Like, these things probably end up mattering at a certain level. So I have no idea what's going to happen. I feel I don't feel passionately about the bottom of the team at all. Like 2021, I was arguing Scotty Scheffler versus Kevin Na and Kevin Kisner. Like that, I felt pretty passionately about that one. Felt that was obvious. I felt passionate about the JT thing in 2023. I didn't really feel passionate about the Burns thing at the very end. And the bottom two spots, I don't feel very strongly about at this point.
But to your earlier point, the Ryder Cup's going to be won by Rory McIlroy, John Rahm, or Scotty Scheffler,
more likely
Alexander Schauffele. It's not going to be won by Rasmus Højgaard, or
it could, but it's more likely that it's going to have to come from your top guys. Just got to play good golf. Like, that's definitely what decides this thing. And if you go back to Rome and look at the top 4 players amongst both teams in strokes gained, which again, or top 4 players in the entire event, Victor Hovland, Jon Rahm, Tommy Fleetwood, Rory McIlroy, night. Like that's it. That's where the entire advantage was gained. The next 2 were Cantlay and Homa. Then you had Hatton, Burns, Rose, Straka. Then you get everybody else lost strokes to the rest of those guys. And so that's, again, way more likely to decide things. Now, granted, how comfortable you feel at the bottom of the lineup can affect how you play those guys, how many matches you play those guys, who you play them with, and it can have an impact on all of that. And it can, the strength at the bottom helps buoy the top as well, I think. But it's again, we just need, if Scotty Scheffler shows up and plays good golf, I think the U.S. is probably going to win this. That's probably,
even more specifically, foursomes, right? Like the foursomes has determined the Ryder Cup for the last 6 Ryder Cups.
Yeah.
What if the PGA of America, just thinking out loud here, Kerry Haig, outgoing Kerry Haig, I believe, kind of going to retire at some point here. I believe he's an Englishman.
He is.
And what would be the best thing for the Ryder Cup moving forward? An away victory.
You're suggesting that Kerry Haig is gonna throw the Ryder Cup?
I could see some funny business with the course setup.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, sure. I think that's
probably
probably our way out.
We don't need that.
I think we're probably there, unless there's any last birdie questions that we possibly couldn't have gotten to. I think Kerry Haig might throw the Ryder Cup for Europe is probably that's the canary in the coal mine for me. If it might be time to wrap this up, but I'll get this last one. Treya Nash 39.51. Who's your sleeper pick to steal the spotlight this year? There's always somebody on both sides that outplays. Jamie's got his. I'm shocked that Jamie's got a guy. You're gonna name 6 guys here.
No, I'm gonna name an American to surprise you all.
JJ Spawn.
Yeah. I think, well, maybe it's not that much of a sleeper pick then, but I think JJ Spawn has all the sort of signs of being the Francesco Molinari of Paris. Like, the guy, every time I see him, I'm so impressed with his demeanor. I'm so impressed with the way he talks off the golf course. I'm incredibly impressed with how he is when the chips are down. Last night could have gone either way to drain that putt in the second playoff hole, and the guy's just, I think he's fantastic. And, it's come to him a bit later in life, which I think means he appreciates it that bit more. And I think he could be a serious gun for Keegan. So I think JJ Spawn's going to have a fantastic Ryder Cup. There you go. Surprised you, didn't I?
That was going to be my pick. Yeah, that was going to be my pick. Yeah.
Ben Griffin for me.
Yeah.
I thought your interview with him, Soly, was fantastic. He's such a great, one of my buddies listened to it, and we were talking about how he's such a great combination of like cocky but also humble,
confident. Yeah,
which is weird. Like it's hard to, I don't know. You'd have to like hear him. I guess you'd have to listen to the interview to understand that. But I'm excited about. I think he has an opportunity to I think he's a candidate to like really get the crowds going and really get them on his side. I think that'll be interesting.
I'll say Ludwig. I don't think we saw the best of Ludwig in Rome. I think he was very much a, best option that they had and filled a very specific need in a very specific hole. But I just think he's so course agnostic.
He beat the world number one. He beat the world number one and a 5-10 major champion 9 and 7 in Rome. We didn't see the best of him.
No, I know.
Nah,
but
he wasn't that good. He wasn't.
He wasn't. Yeah, he wasn't.
Yeah,
a standout, right? And I think that
nice to see some
he's a guy that you can roll out there 4 or 5 times, and like he's he's fit, he's trending in the right direction. I don't think we've seen the best of Ludwig, and I think he's gonna thrive in this environment.
Yep, I think that's we haven't talked about much of this, but we got a question from Farn and Andy. Could this be uglier than Kiowa? I mean, it's kind of a thing going into Bethpage that I know has been a big narrative. We haven't talked a whole heck of a lot of it on this pod. Are we worried about this one?
On the flip side, Soly, are we overestimating the New York presence in that, like, is a lot of this just going to be corporate hospitality and a bunch of
I think a lot of like
corporate
sort of
guys spending $3,000 a day on a ticket?
Yeah. I think a lot of blue collar oiled up Long Islanders have been sort of priced out of this, haven't they, really? It'll still be boisterous, it'll still be rowdy, but I don't see it being Hazeltine, or even, I'm going to mention the B word, boys, or even Brookline. You know, I just can't see it being nearly as nasty as that. It wouldn't be a Ryder
on the
Cup if I didn't
priced
mention
out.
Brookline.
Yeah,
For sure.
it's a good point on the priced out element, but I don't know, man. It's there's going to be jeers. It's going to be
For sure.
I don't know if it's going to be ugly.
It's going to be
It's just
yeah.
and like I don't want to.
A lot of the ugliness depends on what happens in the actual matches, obviously.
Well,
and
the European team does have a tendency to be a bit sensitive about some of this stuff. Is what like throws gas on the fire. Like I think. That's just a fact of life. Like I think that there
we're
could
just
be some
respectful.
If it happens, there's going to be a reaction, and there's going to be
when you got homeboy, what's his name,
Joey.
Joe the Show.
Yeah, you guys handled that one really well. That was handled nice and really calmly. You just don't
no
do
decorum
that,
at all.
That's a small town, Soly.
Hazeltine was bad. I mean, it was really bad.
It was uncomfortable.
I think there was a obviously an undercurrent of
Danny Willet's brother did not help with that.
No, he didn't. But also, like, that was a unique year for America in general. Is probably the best way to say that. I'm hopeful that is gone away some, but yeah, I'm definitely concerned a little bit about it. But usually I think a lot of times when you talk about this a ton leading into it, it doesn't reach the level that you're getting to, you know?
Yes.
So hopefully that's the case with this.
But I think
it's always been so hyped up that the actual reality will probably be less than we were expecting.
Yeah. But if there's a European presence,
oh my God, a Ryder Cup in New York is going to be horrible. The reality is it'll probably be a lot tamer than we've built it up to be in our own heads.
We'll see. I don't know, but that's going to wrap us. Well, appreciate Jamie you calling in from a holiday, and everyone spending their Monday morning with us. I've greatly enjoyed doing these, and they're a fantastic brain dump. Can't wait to see what happens in the next couple of weeks. We'll have captain's picks here after the Tour Championship on the U.S. side, September 1st. For the American side, the top 6 will be decided for the Americans here after the BMW. So plenty of dates to look forward to. We'll be all over it. But thank you all for joining, and thanks everyone for listening and tuning in.
Jamie, please give the Cornish my best.
I'll send them your love.
For FanDuel, must be 21 and older and present in select states. For Kansas, in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 and older and present in D.C., Kentucky, or Wyoming. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Visit rg-help.com. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut, or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York. Thanks for listening.